Hello everyone and welcome to the Pixie Dust Designs YouTube channel. This is Dawn Pauley from Dawn Pauley Designs and I'm so glad you could join me. I'm very excited to be guest designing again for the Pixie Dust Designs. I get to work with their Lily die set today. I love this die set because it gets put together in layers and looks 3D when it's done. I decided to watercolor each layer of the lily to show you how easy it is with all the different pieces. So let's get started so I can show you how this amazing flower gets put together. The first thing I did was go ahead and die cut all the pieces of the lily 3 times from white watercolor cardstock because I'm going to show you how to easily watercolor all of the pieces. The pieces go together really easy. They only fit one way. You have the big solid base and then you get 2 decorative pieces. The pieces fit on top of each other very easy. I'll show you a little later on how nice they fit together, but for now let's get into the watercoloring. I keep them in piles so that I can grab from each pile in the order that they get put together. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is make my background. I'm using some pearl watercolors and I spray the color I want to use and I spray my paper. I'm using a watercolor brush as well. This is filled with water and you could just squeeze it and the water comes out. I just take a little bit of the yellow and I dab it onto the watercolor paper and it spreads out really easy. You really don't have to do too much with this. You can make the background as light or as dark as you want, and you can add a little or a lot. It's up to you. And I'm going to color a lot of the background with the yellow, and you could keep adding water to the paper. Don't worry about adding too much water. It will dry really nice. Now, because I have no patience to let it dry by itself, I'm actually going to dry it with my heat tool. And I just keep moving it all around so it dries evenly. And the paper will bend a little bit, but when it finishes drying, it will flatten back out. Now I'm going to watercolor my flowers. I'm not going to show all the watercoloring of all the petals since I'm basically going to be doing the same thing for all of them. I wet the color that I want and then I spray the flowers with the water again. And then I just tap the color that I want on top of the flower and look at how quickly it spreads the color. Now, if you want a more dramatic, darker look, don't add as much water as I did. I added a lot of water because I was going for a much lighter look. And then I'm going to set them aside to dry a little bit. I went ahead and did the exact same thing for the rest of the flowers, and then I'm going to use my heat tool to dry them a little bit because I also think it helps to set the color more. Once the flowers are done, I do the exact same thing for the stems. I wet the stems and then the color I want to use, and then I add a generous amount of water to the paper. I love how this green has a little bit of yellow tint to it as well. Once these stems are finished, I go ahead and heat set them again. Remember, you don't have to heat set them. You can just let them air dry as well. And then when I'm done, I just set them aside. I'm coloring the centerpiece with the yellow color and I'm putting a very generous amount down. I want it to be a dark yellow and then I just heat set them as well. For the pieces that go on top of this middle piece, I'm coloring them with a brown Tombow watercolor marker. I barely used any water on this and I'm just basically coloring it a solid brown. And after I heat dry the brown centerpieces, I'm using some Imagine Sheer Shimmer Spray on them because all the other pieces have a shine to them because the watercolor had pearls in it and I want these to match them. I trimmed my watercolor background down just a little bit, enough so I can make a black border around it. I also die cut the Thinking of You sentiments from the middle of the black cardstock to help save on paper, and no one will even ever know that I did this. I add foam tape to the back of the watercolored background, and then I adhere the background to the piece of the black cardstock. Okay, now let's put the lily together. The first thing you do is put one of the decorative leaves over the big solid piece. You can see it just fits right in place. Also, I do want to show you that if you can't figure out how to put the pieces together yourself, there is a picture on the back of the packaging that shows how the pieces go together. So you can just follow the diagram and it will be very easy to put them together. For the other decorative piece, it goes on top of the other one, and you can see how it fits in place. Next, I'm going to adhere the centerpiece pieces together. The brown piece is going to go on top of the yellow piece. And then I'm going to adhere the centerpiece in place on the flower. And once you have the centerpiece in place, you're going to adhere the last petal so that it kind of overlaps the bottom of the centerpiece just a little bit. And once you do that, that's going to complete your lily. I think this lily came out beautiful and it has such a nice shine to it with the pearl watercolor that I used. Okay, now let's do the lily one more time. The first thing you do is put one of the decorative leaves over the big solid piece, and you can see that it just fits right in place. And then for the other decorative piece, it goes on top of the first one, and you can see how it fits there. I just keep turning it until I get the right spot. And once that's done, then you're going to adhere the centerpiece in place. And once you have the centerpiece in place, you're going to adhere the last petal so that it overlaps the bottom of the centerpiece just a little bit. And once you do that, that's going to complete your lily again. Okay, now let's start to assemble the card. I die cut the words thinking of you 2 times from the black cardstock. This will give stability to the words and also add dimension to the sentiment, and I just stack them on top of each other. First, I glue the sentiment in place. By doing this, it lets me see how much room I have left on the rest of the card to work with my flowers. Once I know where I want my flowers to go, I'm going to glue everything down onto the card front. For me, I'm just taking the lilies off and leaving the leaves basically where they are and just gluing them in place. They will move around a little bit, but just try and be careful. If you have a phone, you can also take a picture of the image so you know exactly where everything should go in case you do move the pieces around by mistake. Another option I do sometimes is I take some Glad press and seal and I place it over the whole image so all the pieces attach to the press and seal, and then you put glue on all of the pieces at the same time and you place it back on the card front and press all the pieces down in place at one time. It all depends what kind of mood I'm in. Today I just felt like gluing each piece in place. Once all of my stems and leaves are adhered down, I'll just adhere the lilies on top of the leaves. And then I take some of the little leaves and I just put them randomly underneath the lilies. I adhere the entire card front to an A2 size card base. And to finish off my card, I like to add some bling to dress it up, and I'm using some clear dewdrops and I'm just randomly putting them onto the card, and then I adhere them in place with some liquid glue. And I think gems just really dress up a card and makes a card look really nice. And that's going to complete my card for today. I think this card came out beautiful. I love the shine from the watercolor that it has, and I love how the lilies look three-dimensional. I want to thank you for joining me on the Pixie Dust Designs YouTube channel. I would love for you to leave a comment below and let me know what you think of the card. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to the Pixie Dust Designs YouTube channel and their other social media platforms so you don't miss out on any great inspirational videos. Also, check out their website for any new releases they might have. And as always, I want to thank you for spending your time with me, and I hope you have yourself a wonderful day.